Time is short. If you are applying to business school in round one, you've got less than 2 months to get it all done. So I know you're feeling the pressure, and today I am here to help you make the most of the time you've got to manage yourself and your time so that you can get it all done in time for round one application deadlines and come out cool as a cucumber on the other side. This is MBA Monday. I'm Angela Guido. I founded Career Protocol. We work with aspiring business leaders and MBA applicants, and we coach them to fulfill their potential. Not just in getting into business school, but beyond in the rest of their careers. So we know a thing or two about self-management and time management. And there are really two aspects of self-management that are critically important on your MBA journey. The first is time management, just managing your schedule, fitting the challenging aspects of the application into a life that, if you're like most applicants, is already extremely busy and full with work and friends and family and social life. And those last three will probably diminish over the summer while you're finishing your applications. But your career can't. You still got to go to work for the most part. So you've got to fit the application into your busy life. That's self-management aspect number one. The second aspect of self-management that is critically important on this journey is emotional management. So I'm also going to give you some tips for that. Let me start first with, I'm going to talk through aspects of the application, how to manage them in time. I'm going to talk through how to best use your weekends. And finally, I'm going to give you one really great hack that will be super useful to the emotional management piece of this journey. First things first, let's talk about recommendations. If you haven't already approached your recommenders, prepped them with a memo, given them some guidance on the task in front of them, entered their email address in the school's application so that they then get the invitation to submit the recommendation, this is the most important thing you want to do right now. Do not work on essays. Don't even pick up a GMAT book until you have confirmed your recommenders, begun to prepare them, and set them up for the task. The reality is most recommenders will end up taking an afternoon. They'll take a couple of hours to sit down, draft the recommendation, and then get it ready for submission. It is not a task that is going to take them weeks and weeks to do in reality, but because your recommenders are probably even busier than you are, you want to show respect for their time and courtesy and give them as much time as possible to squeeze their task into their busy lives. So most important thing to get rolling right away is your recommenders. Get them ready for the task. If you want some guidance on how to choose your recommenders, how to coach them to do their best work, and how to review what they write to make sure that it is making the absolute most of everything you're bringing to the table, you might want to consider joining our Authentic MBA Catalyst program. It's a group coaching program that takes you through all the 12 steps that are required for MBA application success. Then you might want to consider joining the Authentic MBA Catalyst program. You can learn more about it at the link below, careerprotocol.com/join. That will put you into our community. It will get you loads of free content, including some free advice about recommendations, but it'll also help you decide if joining our community and having the entire Career Protocol coaching team behind you on your MBA journey is the right path for you. Hint, it probably is. Check out that link down below and get going on recommenders. That's really your top priority if you haven't already done that and you're applying in round one. Now let me talk through how to manage your time. So if you're like most people, you've got the majority of your weekends free. You're hopefully not working the entire weekend, or if you are working on the weekend, there's at least more flexibility in your schedule. You can manage yourself a bit better. And again, if you're like most people, you're working a lot of the day. Some of you are working really a lot of the day, and others of you, you've got a more manageable 9-to-5 arrangement. Regardless, you're going to need to use both weekdays and weekends to fulfill your goals here. When you think about the weekend, that's where I think most people get a big chunk of time that they can dedicate to a task. It's where you can, sit down at 9 a.m. and work until 1 p.m. before you have to get up and go about the rest of your day. My advice is to use your weekend strategically to work on the big pieces of your application preparation in a way that gives you the time and space to do them justice. So when I talk about the big pieces, I'm mostly talking about those essays. So you probably want to take at least one of your weekend days to really do a ton of work on drafting, revising, working through your MBA essays. If you're also in the situation where you're preparing for your tests, you're still working on GRE or GMAT preparation, then you might want to use the weekend day, then you might want to use the other weekend day to take a practice test, for example, or to do a series of timed drills. I very much encourage you not to try to cram all of your test prep or all of your MBA application work on the weekends, but since that is the big chunk of time likely that you've got free, the best way to make use of it is to put something in there that you can do for 3 to 4 hours straight and continue to gain value from that experience. Whereas, for example, sitting down to write an essay on a Wednesday night when you've only got an hour before you know you're going to collapse into bed, that can also work. But especially in the early stages where you're still writing early drafts, the harder ones to write, the best time to do that is going to be on the weekend. So use the weekend time strategically to do the things that require a lot of thought, a lot of creative freedom, a lot of headspace, and a lot of mental energy. And then you want to squeeze into the weekdays the things that require less mental energy or that can be broken down into smaller tasks. So take, for example, the short answers in the online application. If you go and you're going to apply to Harvard or Stanford or Booth or pretty much any of the top 10 schools, you're going to find that they've got a series of questions in the online application about your job, your family, your academic experience, your extracurriculars. Some of those questions are substantial and some of them are minuscule. Some of them are as simple as you just gotta look up your actual salary and plug that into the blank without making a mistake. But these short answers are important. They're not challenging to complete because for the most part, it's going to be a point blank answer and you're going to know what the answer is. And even when they require some thought, it's not like what matters most to you and why. It's not this expansive question about your soul. It's just like, what was your biggest challenge at work? So those are great questions to work on weeknights. When you're tired, when you have an attention span, but you're not doing your very best creative work. Another great thing to work on weeknights is brainstorming. If you haven't worked on all your essays yet, block off 30 minutes to just let your mind run free about how you might approach a given essay. Take a lot of notes. Let your creative juices flow and then set it aside and come back to it the next night and look at it again and see which is most interesting to you, which touches you the most, and then start writing on that topic. So brainstorming can sometimes be broken up into smaller pieces. Likewise, resume revision. I really encourage you to totally revamp your resume. And if you wanted to break the resume up into smaller steps, you could spend the first night choosing the template that you're going to use. We have one for you if you decide to join the Catalyst program. But you can find a lot of templates out there. You want to pick one that's simple and clean and that you really like. The next night, you might work on the big pieces. So get your education in the right place, get your career in the right place, figure out what you're going to put in that extra section at the bottom. Are you going to have a leadership or a community section? And then the next night, maybe you catalog all of the things that you've done in your most recent job and start shaping those into bullets. And then on Thursday night, you refine those bullets. Friday, you move on to the previous position you had. And if you do that a little bit each night, within a week and a half, 2 weeks, you've got a revamped resume. And although it does, of course, take mental energy and thought, it doesn't require a ton of creativity. So this is the last point I want to make about emotional management. And this is maybe the most important tip I can give you. It's certainly one of the tips that our clients have valued the most, and that is that when you sit down to write an essay, anytime you are sitting down to write or revise an essay, it is critically important that in that moment you are feeling good. You're feeling good in your body, you're feeling good in your mind, you're feeling good about yourself, your potential, what you're bringing to the table, and the task in front of you. If you try to write an essay in a bad mood, when you're overtired, when you're stressed about a presentation at work the next day, you will have to throw that draft in the trash if you're doing your revision work correctly. Because when you come back and look at it, you won't necessarily be able to put your finger on why you don't like it, but it's just not gonna reflect your best self. There will be something off in the vibe. You will have taken a slightly defensive tone, or you will have failed to really show that moment in the truly inspiring way it occurred to you when it happened. Something will be missing. Best case scenario, worst case scenario, the tone will be entirely wrong if you sit down to write in a bad mood. So before you sit down to write, and this is why writing on the weekend is good, because you have enough space to really clear the decks, to get yourself into a good mood before you sit down and write. And so we have lots of tips and hacks for this. Meditation is a great one, going for a walk, getting some exercise. You probably already have a few rituals that you use to boost your mood. Cultivate those. That's incredibly important life skill. You need to be able to boost your own mood when you're not feeling good. So cultivate that skill. One thing that we always recommend that seems to always work is to watch a Pixar movie. Just sit down in front of even a Pixar short will work. Pixar has a unique ability in their storytelling to connect each of us with what is best inside of us. And that is what you're going to channel in your own essays. So especially when you're sitting down maybe for the first time to write a big essay like Stanford, What Matters Most to You and Why, or Booth's, Tell Us About Who You Are essay, watch a Pixar movie. Get yourself into a really good, positive, inspired mood, and then write the essay and see what comes out. When you go back to edit it, when you go back to do revisions, those are things that could fit really well into a weeknight or even a weekday morning before you go to work. Because revising an essay, especially the closer you get to the final draft, is always much easier than writing a first draft. But you can fit that into smaller space. But when you're writing that first big draft, make absolutely sure that you are in a great, great, great mood about yourself and about your life before you sit down to write. If you do that, if you're able to manage your emotion for the task, you're gonna do your best work. You're also gonna be gaining an incredibly valuable life skill. I mean, just think about how often we're forced to act in a state of emotional turmoil and how badly it tends to go when you're not in a good mood. So use this opportunity to cultivate that critical life skill of not just time management, but emotional management on your MBA journey. And you will hit your deadlines in time. You will feel great about the work that you did. You'll manage to fit it all in despite having an incredibly impressive and full life as you're going down this process. And again, if you'd like to have us as your coaches and guides, please head over to careerprotocol.com/join. You'll get all kinds of valuable free resources and a chance to work with us if that's what you'd like to do. Regardless, while you're down there, hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss any of the MBA Mondays coming your way in the next several weeks to help you cross that finish line with ease and submit your very best MBA applications so that you can start your MBA next fall. I'm rooting for you. I'll see you next week.